Well, golf fans, Big D back, and today's episode, Dylan's History of Sports, previews the 2026 PGA Championship from Wanamaker in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania. Joining me, probably happy that Forest are staying up in the Premiership, Tom Jacobs.
I certainly am very happy. I'm going to Vegas in a couple of weeks' time, and originally it was going to be I was going to land. Then the next day it was going to be the Europa League final. I was hoping I was going to be able to watch that in kind of Surfer or somewhere like that. Obviously, didn't get that done on Thursday. Lost out to Aston Villa, and then it was like, right, we need to make sure that I'm not stressed on the Sunday of my holiday, hoping that we need to stay up on the final game of the season. And today, a combination of getting a draw against Newcastle and Arsenal winning in dramatic fashion against West Ham, we are now safe for another year. I think, Dylan, you'll probably get one of our players. I think Chelsea are probably going to get Murillo next season. So there's lots of links of him leaving. But, not too much football chat because I know we're at a golf podcast. But, yeah, definitely very happy.
Yeah, this week talking PGA Championship, obviously probably the fourth of the big majors. Despite maybe the PGA being the fourth of four majors, there've been a lot of great shots and there've been a lot of bad ones. So, Tom, what is the worst shot you can remember at a PGA Championship?
Yeah, so I think in terms of like the actual shot, like that's one thing. But Dustin Johnson, 2010, whistling straights, accidentally grounding his club, costing himself the Wanamaker Trophy, led by one, didn't he? Hit it in the sandy area, mistakenly grounds it, taps in for a bogey five. I think he's going to be in the playoff, only to get a two-shot penalty and drop into fifth place. So I would say, Dylan, that has to qualify. Despite, technically there's probably a lot of worse shots, right? But like the mistake in such a high-pressure moment and such a historic potential moment, that quantifies as probably the worst thing that I can think of in recent memory.
Interesting. I wasn't thinking DJ Whistling Strikes cost him a playoff with Malden, Keimer, and Bubba.
So tell me, because you before we came on, you said you thought you might know where I was going with that in terms of worst shots. What was the one you were thinking of?
I was thinking Mita Pereira's drive into the water at Southern Hills a few years ago. I mean, leading by one going to the 18th. All you need is a par 4 and does the one thing you can't do at 18, go in the water.
And probably when you think about the aftermath of it, obviously he went to live golf and obviously now retired, Dylan, from golf. I would say probably the most consequential. You think about Dustin Johnson at the time, not having won a major, that felt consequential, but he obviously went on and won the Masters in 2020. You're probably right, and that probably is the worst. Like obviously between technique, just buckling under pressure, and then the aftermath of basically retiring from golf because of that moment. Probably like he's probably just had one too many kind of bad night's sleep about that shot. I think yours probably trumps mine because Dustin Johnson recovered just fine.
Yeah, and then of course Justin Thomas and Will Zalatoris in a playoff. Then we know what JT did on the second playoff hole.
We were, of course, on Justin Thomas as our one and dones that week, weren't we? So we were obviously delighted at Mito Pereira's misfortune, but we don't want to gloat about someone that's obviously had such a bad time. But yeah, it was good for us financially and good for the podcast as well. So all round kind of a big event for us that. But yeah, I guess you tell me your best one, and I'll think about one as well that I think people won't think of when they think of the PGA Championship. But I'll tell you my best one after you've gone.
I'm going back 1999 Medina. Sergio Garcia hits his tee shot on a tree and then pulls off one of the greatest recovery shots we've ever seen. And then Sergio goes jumping for joy on the fairway, pulling off a Seppi shot.
That was a good one. That was And I think, look, people won't want to think about kind of Sergio Garcia these days, right? He's pretty much a villain at this point. But yeah, an incredible shot. I'm thinking 2003 Sean McKill at Oak Hill hitting that 7-iron to a couple of inches. You know, lone PGA Tour win, right? And just an incredible story. And I think, you know, very good shot, obviously under pressure, but also just what that meant for the PGA. I think a lot of people, they sort of viewed this major championship. I know we're going to kind of talk about this and maybe quite a good segue into it at some point. Like, probably people viewed the PGA Championship so differently from that sort of time and that period, right? You think about, you know, Rich Beam winning 2002, Sean McKill 2003, Y. Yang 2009, Keaton Bradley 2011, Jason Duffner 2013. You know, like it was a bit of a, it wasn't considered like the prettiest of majors, right? The PGA Championship. You sort of had some surprise winners, and you know, a lot of the talk was because it was kind of later on in the year. So, yeah, I don't know if you want to have that discussion now, or if we want to come back to that bit. But
I'm glad you mentioned, because you know, we've seen the PGA Championship in August and now in May. Is the PGA Championship better in May or August? Because after the Open Championship, other than the FedEx Cup, maybe the Ryder Cup, not a lot for these guys to.
yeah, I think for the PGA Championship's benefit, it's better that it's in May. I think for the golfers, it's better that it's in May because they can take advantage of the early season form. They're not really tired at the end of it. I think for us golf fans, it's a bit of a toss-up between the two, right? Because I think selfishly, for what me and you do about talking about, you know, betting and fantasy, I think it's better that it's in May because we get a clearer picture of kind of who's in form and the form remains. But I think in terms of like when the Open Championship finishes now in July, it feels like the season's done, right? And if there's no Ryder Cup, no extra major, the FedEx Cup playoffs don't really have the same sort of razzmatazz that they used to have, right? You know, if they've dropped down one event as it is, and Tour Championship really needs looking at in terms of format, I think. So, yeah, I think overall, I think May wins out for everybody. But yeah, what are your thoughts, Tim?
I mean, I think part of golf's problem is that the schedule needs changing because there are too many California events, probably too many Florida events. That's coming from the state of Florida. There are not enough events in the Northeast. We know why, because the weather could be sunny and beautiful. It could be wet. Or it could be wet, just like the 02 U.S. Open at Bethpage. Oh, 2009 Open at Bethpage.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And I think I'm kind of glad that it's funny, isn't it? Like a Wanamaker now is coming under a bit of scrutiny this week for maybe not really being a true major championship test. But I think the combination of it being in May and just kind of like chances to get it kind of set up again. Obviously, we've not seen it since the 2018 PGA Championship. So I think there's a good chance that we're going to have a really good tournament this week.
And yeah, just because the golf course hasn't hosted a major in forever or hasn't hosted a PGA Tour event in the better part of a decade, doesn't mean it'll be a bad test, because you know we know what Gil Hanse has done with redesigned a whole bunch of major courses, and we know based on similar courses, whether it be Eastlake, Pinehurst, or Oak Hill, what these kind of layouts will be. I mean, 2023 PGA with Brooks and Hovland was sweet until Hovland beached himself.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you look at the 2023, you know, Brooks beating Scheffler and Hovland, you've got Kitayama, DeChambeau, and Cam Davis in fourth, Rory McIlroy in seventh, Cam Smith, Patrick Cantlay, and Straka rounding out, and Rose rounding out the top 10. Amazing. And then you go to Pinehurst at the 2024, and you've got Bryson beating Rory, obviously famously, with Cantlay and Finau and tied third. Of course, you had Matthew Pavon as a bit of a surprise package, but again, Hideki, Henley, Schauffele, Burns, Connors, Davis Thompson, like it was a good group of players in those top tens in those two majors. So look, Donald Ross designs with Gil Hanse restorations seem like a good way to go.
And And yeah, some courses are not made. Some courses are not challenging the golfers based on length. I mean, we saw what Marion did in 2013. Nobody shot under par, and that was even with Phil getting an eagle.
And who won that one, Dylan?
Rose.
Yeah, and who likes this Wanamaker course? Rose.
Didn't Justin Rose win one of the tournaments in like 2010 or whatever?
2020, he won the 2010 AT&T National, and then obviously lost to Keegan Bradley at the 2018 BMW as well. So, spoiler alert, Dylan, I'm not going to be picking Justin Rose at his current odds because of this ridiculous decision to change golf clubs to McLaren 3 weeks before the major championship. But I am currently sitting on 100-1 ticket from putting it on after sometime last year, and when he announced he was making that club change, I wasn't best pleased. Is probably the best way to put it. So yeah, interesting to see how he goes next week.
I actually made a bet. Last year for this very venue. I'll talk about that later on. But it's. Would you agree that there aren't enough venues in the Northeast? I mean, we're going to see back-to-back major venues in the Northeast with Wanamaker, and then of course the U.S. Open at Shinnecock. But are there enough events in the Northeast?
Probably not, right? And I think is there just not enough kind of major courses there to do it? I know there's obviously good golf courses there, and we used to see it a couple of times. I mean, in the FedEx Cup playoffs, so they would go there for the BMW, right? So, look, hard for me to really comment because obviously being from the UK, it's not really a geographical thing I think about, right? I think about just a course on a course-by-course basis. But, yeah, I think you'd argue that, certainly someone like Keegan Bradley or Cam Young or whatever would love to have more in the Northeast. So, yeah, I think, the more they can spread it around, the better. From any sense, whether that's northeast, south, southwest, or whatever it might be. So, yeah, the more you can spread it around, the better, I guess.
And I mean, next year the PGA is going to be in Texas. So I mean, I don't remember the last time a major took place in the Lone Star State.
Yeah, you got me thinking about that. I'm assuming that'd be very warm, right? Oh, that's going to be a major factor that week. Let's have a look. Last major championship held in Texas. It's really good.
1969 U.S. Open at Champions Golf Club, won by Ovell Moody.
That should have been our trivia question. I should have saved that one for you.
I've got one better. That might be next year.
Good. Cool. Do you want to do your trivia question now?
No, I'll save it for the end. But I will mention. But you know what? Forever and ever, we asked about Rory McIlroy in his pursuit of the Grand Slam.
Yeah.
There's another golfer who's one major shy of the Grand Slam, and this is the major he needs. A certain Jordan Spieth. Yeah. Can Jordan Spieth get that Wanamaker to complete his Grand Slam? Maybe not this week, but at some point.
I think Look, I was quite high on Jordan Spieth this season, right? I've been talking about him quite a lot on my podcast and in articles and things like that. Just thinking the form's been coming a bit good. Like he was second after the first two rounds last week at Doral, which is not really a course you'd expect him to do with that. He's been 12th at the Masters. I don't think it's going to happen this week. He still looks like he's a little bit off. When they played the BMW Championship here, he finished 55th, so there's no real reason. And quite frankly, he's been awful in the PGA Championship since he's been trying to complete the Grand Slam, right? Like he's not finished better than 29th in the last 6 years. So probably not, but hope to see him do it one day.
Agree. I think if Jordan Spieth's going to get a PGA, it's probably going to be next year at a PGA Frisco.
Yeah, that would make sense, right? Or just like a really short test. I guess like right, not a bad test for him, but probably just not playing quite well enough at this point.
I haven't really seen Jordan Spieth with the putter though, which is strange.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Would love to see Jordan Spieth back, and wouldn't it be great if we kind of complete these Grand Slams in quick succession with Rory and then Spieth, and then maybe Scheffler goes on and does his own as well, and it would be amazing. But it's tough, isn't it? I guess there's one player that won't be getting his Grand Slam, and that's Phil Mickelson. But who knows?
Yeah, that'll be It's crazy how times have changed. When 5 years ago Lefty won PGA at 50, I'm like, what? And I'm like, I didn't see that coming.
No, absolutely not. And that's the thing, right? Every time we kind of talk about in absolutes of like this can't happen anymore, or this is definitely not going to happen in their career, or they're done, or a lot of people have written Cam Young off for a long time, right? And all of a sudden he's potentially the best player in the world. So it's fun. People were talking about Matt Fitzpatrick gifting his brother a PGA Tour card, and now he's winning, a signature event. So a lot changes quite quickly. That's going to be a really good final round as we talk here at Quail Hollow, because Fitzpatrick and Raitan are now tied. Sungjae Im's the early mover, and Cam Young's stuttering for a couple of holes. But there's a couple of players in the sort of top 10 that I've got my eye on for this week. So it'll be interesting to see how today ends up.
Yeah, I do too. One in particular, known for his hair.
Known for his hair. Oh yeah, okay, I'm with you.
Speaking of signature events, we know they're all. Let me think. 1, 2, 3. Let me see. Wait. Signature events at Pebble, Riviera, Bay Hill, Heritage, Doral, Quail Hollow, the Memorial, and the Travelers. If you were running the PGA, how many signature events would you have, and where would they be?
Like 3 max. Like we've got 4 majors already, 3 signature events. I like Bay Hill. Like the Players, I guess.
I mean, Players is some different entity, right?
Yeah. So, but then obviously if you do the Players and Bay Hill, you've then got 2 in Florida. I mean, the Travelers shouldn't be a signature event. But that, first of all, that just seems strange, right? Heritage, not a signature event. So there'd be the 2 that I'd definitely rule out. I think Doral would be a good, signature event long term. But it does seem that, like, the more I think about it, the more Florida courses I quite like. So I guess that's a bit of a problem in itself.
I think there should be 3 signature events every year for you. And not just the venues, but who's hosting the events.
Yeah.
Riviera, Tigers event.
Yeah.
Arnold Palmer, Bay Hill, and the Memorial being Jack's event. And these are 3 events you cannot skip. Otherwise, you go. You can play. I don't care if Jordan Spieth wants to play Pebble Beach, Roy McIlroy doesn't want to play Doral. You guys have to play Riviera, Bay Hill, and the Memorial. Simple.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think that I like the way you're thinking about that. It gives it meaning, right? Like having the 3 hosts, and I like, again, Pebble, potentially a good signature event, but who naturally hosts Pebble Beach? I mean, I don't know. Like it's a strange one. So yeah, 3 max is good with me, and those 3 you mentioned with those 3 hosts definitely makes sense.
Yeah, and also 1 in Florida, 1 in California, 1 in Ohio.
Yeah. Let's bring it on to this week. When you think about Wanamaker, and obviously we're going by the fact that we really and truly the 2018 BMW Championships kind of the only relevant form. Like, I know I've kind of made a long-term bet with Justin Rose because he won in 2010 and then played well at BMW. But what do you think about what players need for a Wanamaker? And are you focusing on the golf course itself? Are you focusing on the PGA Championship as a whole? Like, I like people that are just consistently good at the PGA Championship, regardless of kind of venue. Are we talking about kind of Donald Ross designs, and that way we go down to kind of Oak Hill? What's your kind of take on it? How are you kind of going about it this week?
I'm trying to combine recent form course history and major history on Donald Ross designs because some course designs could be a little differently. I mean, we saw what Oak Hill did a few years ago. Similar weather, well, potentially similar weather, maybe a little warmer next weekend, but Northeast been getting a lot of rain. I'm like, oof. But I think at Aronimink it's going to be a second shot golf course. I don't think Aronimik's a course where length is necessarily the end all like Doral, where it helps if you hit the ball 528 yards.
It does. Yeah, and the other thing I think about, and the reason I mentioned about the kind of PGA Championship form, right? JT's got this rich history at the PGA Championship. It means a lot because of his dad, whatever it might be. He's won twice. He finished 18th on his PGA Championship debut in 2015, was pretty poor in 2016, and then obviously won in 2017. But it's only him and Colin Morikawa over the last 12 years that haven't already had a top 10 in the PGA Championship before winning it. Obviously, Colin Morikawa had never played in one. Justin Thomas only played in two, but that means you've got Rory McIlroy winning in 2014. He'd already won a PGA Championship. You've got Jason Day that had 2 top 10s in, 5 starts. His best
and Danya won the Open that year.
Yeah, exactly. Jimmy Walker had a top 10. He'd finished 7th in a PGA Championship before. Brooks Koepka had 2 top 5s, prior to his first win.
And won a couple U.S. Opens.
And then went back-to-back. So we're spotting a trend here of just like very repeatable form in the PGA Championship. Obviously now 3-time winner of this event, Brooks Koepka and Rory McIlroy a couple. But like, I just find it hard to look past just being good at PGA Championships. And I know there's obviously that big switch from August to May to think about in that time, obviously happening, what was that, 2016? I think they kind of, was the last one in.
2019 was the first year of the May PGA at Bethpage.
Yeah. So that's got to be considered. But I just think PGA Championships come with their own setup. I think it's a little bit closer to what a US Open used to be now. And it's interesting, a lot of people say like the PGA Championship is, I guess, the worst of the majors, if that's a thing to say. Obviously, I love Augusta as a UK person. I'm meant to say the Open's my kind of favourite, but the Masters is definitely a favourite for me, the tradition. Then it would probably be the Open Championship. But I don't feel too differently about the US Open or the PGA. I know you guys would, obviously, over there. Then your National Open would probably come way ahead of the PGA Championship. But I also think if I was you, I wouldn't see much difference in the Open Championship and the PGA, right? Because the Open can just be horrible. Half the field can just be written off before it even starts because they just get a bad draw on tees, and that is just tough. And then it could just be if you don't play links golf, you're basically eliminated. So I think the Open Championship is the quirkiest of the 4, and then the PGA is the one that has the kind of least affinity. It's because it's obviously run by the PGA, but yeah, I think it's done a good job in the last few years of creating its own identity and giving us some really good stories. You think about the last few winners: Scheffler, Xander, Brooks, JT, Phil, as you said, 50, Colin Morikawa. So I think it's doing just fine.
And I think in some ways the PGA, I mean, if you discount the 24 PGA, which I think part of the easier setup might have been due to the wet conditions, the PGA's turned into maybe not a US Open, but a somewhat mini US Open. The winners generally probably 8 to 10 under par.
Yeah. Yeah, and that definitely helps it, right? I think it just makes it, and the US Open is probably going a different way. It's not quite as tough as it used to be. So it's kind of meeting in the middle, right? And to your point, Xander Schauffele winning at 21 under was kind of a stray away from what it's been like since probably 2019. And I guess that's the other thing to talk about, is that it has got notoriously tougher since it moved to May, right? That's a big factor. So yeah, I think it's got a lot going for it. Obviously, there has to be a worse of the 4, and the PGA Championship may just be it, but it's holding its own.
almost like in tennis, where you could argue the French Open is probably the worst of the four majors there. But
yeah, Rafael Nadal wouldn't agree, would he? So yeah.
Well, yeah, I think Rafa Nadal's got more French Open titles than and we have shoes in our closet.
It's got to be close between him and Jack Nicklaus for majors, right?
And so I'm going into the PGA this week. Obviously, Rory McIlroy just won Augusta, so we know what Scotty Scheffler's is defending champ. So Cam Young may just want to move into Florida because he won the Players and won Doral.
Yeah.
Fitzpatrick's is really hot. He won Valspar and then won the a team event with his brother. And now his brother may win Quail Hollow, which is a crazy story in itself.
Yeah.
So, you look at recent form. Fleetwood won the FedEx Cup on a Donna Ross design at East Lake last year. Trying to think, am I missing anyone?
No, I think that's good. And I think one of the things before we move on from that, Dylan, like, I'm actually not entirely sure that Matt Fitzpatrick's getting the credit that he deserves.
Right? I don't think so either, which is crazy because Matt Fitzpatrick's won a U.S. Open. This is a guy who's been top 10 in the world.
And I guess it's because Cam Young's just doing so brilliantly. Rory's just won the Masters, right? It's very, very difficult to celebrate everybody. People are going to still, Scheffler's coming into this event with 3 seconds in a row, so eventually he's going to win at some point. But you think about Fitzpatrick, he's beaten, like, the last 2 playoffs he's played, he's beaten Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler. He's just won with his brother. He's won the Valspar after cruelly missing out on the Players. He's done okay at Augusta. It wasn't great, but I never think he's perfectly suited to Augusta anyway, so I thought the 18th was just fine. So yeah, I mean, you talk about just suitable people for major championships. Matt Fitzpatrick's stock is, very high, especially I just people are talking about like the Open Championship, and of course that would be something that he will want to do. But I think he's just as likely to win, a PGA Championship or US Open than he is the Open. So, 2 top 8 finishes in his last 4 PGA Championships, missing the cut in the other 2 coincidentally. I think Fitzpatrick's definitely one to kind of think about. But lots of us to talk about here.
Wasn't Fitzpatrick one of the leaders going into the final round of the 22 PGA?
He was up there, wasn't he? Was he one of the leaders? He was definitely in the top kind of 5, right? Like he was definitely one that could have made a run. Let's see. Yeah, he was 3 behind Mito. He was tied with Zalatoris. So, and that was after a big move from 8th on day 2. So, yeah, shot that 73 and ended up only losing by 2 shots. So, yeah, he probably was kicking himself that year. He didn't kind of maybe on play. And I guess that was kind of this, was that the catalyst to things? I don't know. It's tough, right? To really know if that was the reason why I went on to win the US Open, but it certainly would have helped.
Maybe a little home cooking at Brookline, but that's either here or there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I got to stay in the same house he did 9 years earlier. And maybe Matt will add a Wanamaker to his collection, for all we know. By the way, Fitz number 4 in the official World Golf rankings.
So it's what? Scotty, Rory,
Cam,
Fitz, and then who's Xander?
Xander's like 10.
Wow.
If you want the rest of the top 10, Rose, Morikawa, Fleetwood, Henley, Spahn, and Schauffele.
I think the trouble is now I kind of get myself confused with the data golf rankings and the official world golf rankings now, because I tend not to give the official golf rankings the kind of credit now. Even though JJ Spawn won an event more recently, I think Xander, when he's rides, a far better golf. But that's just me. Yeah, and look, I really like JJ Spawn, and it's great that he's kind of come back to form. But the only thing I'd say about data golf's not perfect either, because I don't think Jon Rahm's the second best player in the world. I think that's like wrong. Like, I don't know where they're kind of getting that decision from. Like I don't think.
Wait, where's Data? What is? Let me see if I could get Data Golf's rankings. Scotty 1, I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Rums. Would it be Roy 3 or Cam 3?
Rory 3.
And then Cam.
Yeah,
Fitz.
yeah.
Would it be Bryson next?
No, Bryson is 23rd in the data golf ranking,
Oh gosh.
which I think is deserved after the Masters. But
Well, yeah. Bryson's crapped the bed in the last 3 majors. I think Bryson's missed the cut in the last 3.
he's struggling. Do you want me to reel off the final of the top 10?
Fleetwood.
Fleetwood's 9th.
Colin.
He's 12th.
Oh no. Henley.
Yes, Henley's number 8. So you've got 6th, 7th, and 10th left.
Spawn.
No, Spawn is 24.
Have these guys won recently?
I mean, it's not recent, not super recent. Recent enough that you remember them winning. One of them hasn't won this year. One of them won this year.
Well, it wouldn't be Xander, right?
Xander's there. So Xander is in 6th.
Okay, I'm going to take a wild guess and say Patrick Cantlay.
It's not Cantlay. He's 13th.
Dang it!
You've got one sensational European and then a bit of
Ludwig.
Ludwig's 7th, and then I mean, if you get number 10, I mean, he deserved it with the consistency this season, but like 10th best player in the world's a tough.
Was he on the Ryder Cup team last year?
No, you can't play in the Ryder Cup.
Oh, Hideki.
No, closer though. Asian golfer.
Sanjay?
Ooh, that very close now. Another South Korean golfer.
Wait a minute. South Korea golf. Oh gosh, this is gonna. You're gonna cost me sleep, mate. Siwoo.
Siwoo Kim is 10th in Data Golf's world rankings. Now, look, playing incredibly well. We're talking about someone that's got 4 top 4s in 2026, 5 top 6s, 7 top 10s. So kind of hard to argue, but the guy hasn't won for like 4 years either. So
yeah. Okay, so looking at the price tags for the PGA next week, Scotty 13.9, Roy 12.4. So you're gonna have to put up more than a quarter of your entry for Scotty and basically a quarter for Roy. They're all $5,000 golfers. Ryan Fox, Jaeger, Novak, Fitzpatrick. Oh boy. What kind of chalk will Alex Fitzpatrick be?
Well, how many lineups are going to start Scheffler and Alex Fitzpatrick?
Or like Lucas Glover, Davis Riley, Patrick Rogers. I'm like, these look like bottom of the barrel guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's players that actually can't play golf down here, and then there's some that like Alex Fitzpatrick that potentially could win a tournament this week. So funny how when these prices come out when they think about them, because I mean, Alex Fitzpatrick's been playing well for over a month now. It's not like he's just learned how to play golf. So funny that he's so cheap.
And like Thomas Dietrich, I think Thomas Dietrich's on Lyft, right?
He is.
And both the Højgaards, Taylor Pendrith, unlike Echeverria, Tagala. How Brian Holman's got a PGA, and an Open under his belt, I have no idea. Max Homa, DJ keeps his major streak alive. Harris English. I don't know what to think of Harris English because every time I think of I think major venues, like, I never want to mention Harris English, but he's always there.
Yeah,
At
I
least,
like Harris English in the majors. He isn't playing that well in the last couple of weeks, or like not as well as he was when he had like the big major year last year. So I don't think we sort of think about anything too drastic from him, but he could be a solid option for sure.
yeah, English was great at Heritage T4, but generally.
Generally, just a bit disappointing.
Oh, by the way, guess who won? Guess who won Heritage? That Fitzpatrick guy too.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
And guess what? He always plays well at Heritage.
Yeah, there you go. So I feel like we're talking ourselves into Matt Fitzpatrick here without even. That wasn't the plan, by the way.
No, let me tell you this. I've been tossing and turning over who my one and done will be, but I'm not ready to reveal it yet.
Nice. Well, it sounds like we're both getting closer to Matt Fitzpatrick, which is funny.
Yeah. Okay. Trivia time.
Yeah.
And by the way, Matt Fitzpatrick is not the trivia question. I will go first with your trivia question. It goes way back in time.
Okay.
We remember Gary Player winning the 1962 PGA Championship at Wanamaker.
Do we?
Do you know what feat Gary Player achieved the week before at the Open Championship?
Did he win the Grand Slam?
No. Or maybe what failure he achieved at the Open Championship that year.
My knowledge of 1962 is fairly weak, Dylan, I must admit. Let's think about it. Something to do with missing the cut?
Yes. Gary Player missed the cut at the 1962 Open and then won the PGA at Wanamaker.
Yeah, makes sense.
Talk about a crazy year for golf, because 62 was the year Jack beat Honor at Oakmont for his first U.S. Open.
Yeah, that is a wild year. I mean, again, you'd have to get me digging through the archives to kind of know it. But I've got one for you.
Okay.
Bringing it back to my neck of the woods. Can you tell me, and now I'm basically bullying you because you just maybe go back to 1962, but who was the last Englishman to win the PGA Championship?
Oh, great. I knew you were going to ask me that question. How far back do I have to go?
It's funny, I've got the answer written down here, but I haven't got the year, so let me have a look and I'll tell you. It's going to be a long time ago. Let's see. Yeah, you're not going to get this one. I mean, it was like during the war, so it was a long time ago.
Which one? Okay, well, it would have been like the 40s.
Well, earlier than that. 1919, he won the PGA Championship.
I was thinking like old Tom Moore.
No, he would have been, I guess, Scottish, right? As well. So, like, Englishman. I feel like this is way too unfair. Do you want me to tell you this one, and then we'll move on to a separate one? This feels too hard. So this was Jim Barnes. And if you'd have asked me that question, I wouldn't have known it either. But the other options were Tony Jacklin or Justin Rose. So
I was thinking Tony Jacklin never won.
Exactly.
Never won a PGA. I remember him maybe winning a US Open or Open, but not PGA.
Do you know who the first player was to shoot a 62 in the PGA Championship?
This would have been recent. Is he playing this week?
Yes. Well, all things considered. Well, yes, I hope so.
Whew. I've got a what? Has he won a major?
Yes.
Okay. Henrik Stenson.
No. More recent.
Okay, so has he appeared in any recent Ryder or President's Cup teams?
Yes. Yeah.
Has he won recently?
Has he won recently? Yes. I mean, what would you consider recent? He's won at the end of 2025.
Okay. Whew. I have Hideki Matsuyama.
No.
Oh, am I in the right area of the world?
No.
Okay. American or European?
American.
Okay, so he's
He has won the PGA Championship.
okay. Jimmy Walker.
No. More recent.
Okay.
So it's the only person to shoot in the PGA Championship, and obviously tied the major record low round as well with the 62.
Yeah. Oh. Was his major win in the 20 teens or the 2020s?
2020.
Oh boy. If this is Colin Morikawa, I'm going to pull out my hair.
It's not Colin Morikawa. As someone like me, don't pull out your hair, mate, because it's not a good look for you.
I'm losing my hair. Wait. Oh, crap. Didn't Xander put a 62 at the win when he won in 24?
He did. Xander Schauffele, opening round 62, then went on to win the PGA Championship.
And that was and I think that was after Xander and Ricky shot 62s at the U.S. Open, right?
Yeah. Dueling 60. Was it 62s or 63s?
62s.
Yeah.
That's the only one I was not thinking Xander and that crazy 62 a couple years ago. Of course, maybe all eyes' attention may have been drawn to Scotty being arrested.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Okay, so
I've got one more for you if you want it.
Yes.
So, who is the only player to win the PGA Championship in 3 separate decades? So it's going to be a small list because they've had to win it 3 times. So,
Jack Nicklaus?
correct. 3 separate decades. It's pretty impressive, isn't it? To do that, not only to win, multiple PGA Championships, but to do it in 3 separate decades it's quite amazing. So yeah, Jack Nicklaus, 1980, 1973, and 75, and then of course 1963 and 71 as well. You just won it all the time, Mr. Nicklaus.
I'm like, anytime you say won a major 3-second decades, I'm like, Jack Nicklaus isn't a half bad.
It's going to be the answer, isn't it? Should be an easy one, really.
Okay, so now we get to our favorite point, bets.
Yeah.
Who are you betting for the PGA this year?
Yeah, I mean, look, straight off the bat, do we want to save the one and done? So I can't talk as much as we've just talked about without thinking about Matt Fitzpatrick as a bet. I think just the way that he's been playing is absolutely phenomenal, right? And maybe his brother is going to, show him up here this week at Quail Hollow. But, he was 9th at the Phoenix Open, 14th at Pebble, and then 24th at Riviera, who was 8th halfway. And you think, okay, he's working his way, back on the PGA Tour after a good finish on the DP World Tour. 41st at Bay Hill, really disappointing for someone of his caliber. And then 2nd at Players, wins the Valspar, 18th at Augusta, wins the Heritage, and then, of course, wins the Zurich Classic with his brother. He's got his kind of checkered history with the PGA Championship fixed, where you think, okay, is he a good PGA Championship player or not? Well, as you said, he was right in the mix there, wasn't he? At Southern Hills, where he was second going into the final round. Finished 5th there, shot the final round 73, and, anything kind of lower than that, he'd be right in the mix. And then last year, he was second at halfway, shot a pair of 72s over the weekend to finish 8th. But if you remember last year, Dylan, that performance came when he was really out of sorts, wasn't he? He was kind of outside the world's top 50.
Yeah, and there were questions whether or not he'd make the Ryder Cup team.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden just reignited his whole season, being, right in the mix there at the PGA Championship last year. And, those 2 miscuts in between those 2 performances make sense. He'd kind of gone off, not off the rails, I think it's a bit harsh, but he'd kind of lost his touch. I think he's just playing so well, full of confidence. No real reason to not think this would be a good golf course for him at Wanamaker. I'm sure you agree. Dylan, he didn't play here in the 2018 BMW Championship, too soon for him. But yeah, I find it hard to think about weaknesses for him right now. Like, he's just playing so well, and I think with getting his brother a card, that's probably one of the more stressful things that's happened to him this season, on top of getting those wins and trying to beat Scotty Scheffler, and he's overcome both of those. So then go into this one full of form, and of course, I think suits him. I think Matt Fitzpatrick makes a ton of sense. So I haven't committed to him yet, but at 22-1, in the UK, I find it hard to believe that Matt Fitzpatrick won't at least make a very short list for me next week.
Agree. I've been stressing going back and forth between Fitz and my guy, my official one and done for that same reason. Just good form.
Yeah.
Another guy I like, I can't believe this guy has won a major, but if this guy were to win one, I don't think we'd be surprised if it's this weekend. How about his country mate, Tommy Fleetwood?
Yeah.
I mean, we know what Fleetwood did in Eastlake, winning there on a Donald Ross design. Now, this year, I don't think Tommy Fleetwood has looked like Fleetwood from last year, but we know ball striking wise, and I think Wanamaker's going to be a ball striker's course.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a great thing that he's playing as well as he is today. He's a couple under par through 7 holes, a couple of shots back in the final round of the Truist at Quail Hollow. I think he really needed this warm-up because, as you said, Dylan, he hasn't been the same player this season. And again, that's being very critical because he's 4th at Pebble Beach, 7th at Riviera, 8th at the Players, 10th at the Texas Open. But he was largely disappointed at the Masters after a decent start. He was inside the top 10 for the first
bad final round at Augusta.
Yeah, just rough, right? So, look, and then obviously struggled at Heritage, didn't play that great at Doral, had a decent final round. But, I think this week has probably just got enough good grace to go, okay, let's go into next week again at a pretty suitable golf course. I guess the only thing, just a lack of real history at the PGA Championship. Dylan, he's got that 5th place finish 4 years ago, but otherwise just kind of struggled in this tournament. But again, another one at the BMW Championship, he was 4th going into the final round and finished 8th in 2018. So good course fit, good course form. Just would like to have seen a bit more from him in the PGA Championship over the years. It's so strange when he's been so good in the US Open and the Open that he's kind of struggled in this one a little bit.
And then every time we get to a PGA, I'm not going to overlook Justin Thomas. He's won a couple. I mean, I don't know if JT's quite in that same form, but we know what he can do, especially with the wedges. And you get Justin Thomas a wedge, he's going to put it somewhere near the flag.
And also, he was talking, wasn't he, about how he basically asked for Cam Young's putter. He wanted the exact same putter as him this week. Put it into the bag on Monday. Practice hard with it, and lo and behold, he's kind of inside the top 10 in the final round here at Quail Hollow as we speak. So, yeah, I think Tommy Fleetwood, by the way, just gone 3 under through 8. He's now in third place and 1 shot behind Sungjae Im.
He'll be lower than Tommy Fleetwood will be lower than 26 to 1 at DK. I don't know what he has on your side.
If you he's 22 to 1 over here. Dylan, if people want Tommy Fleetwood, they're going to have to act very, very fast, and it might not even be able to, by the time we post this, it might be over for him in terms of odds. But there's someone else in the hunt here this week. Ricky Fowler's 5 under through 9. He's 1 shot back of Sungjae Im. He's been on the precipice of doing this for a long time now. Dylan has been playing some really good golf. He was the 54-hole leader at the AT&T National in 2011. Right at the start of his career, shot a final round 74 to finish 13th, but then came back, BMW Championship, inside the top 8 all week, opened with 3 straight rounds of 65 at Wanamaker. He was third at the halfway, 4th going into Sunday. He's got to have a chance, Ricky Fowler. Everything we know about him in major championship.
You're just playing the good vibes. You want to see Orange in contention on Sunday, right?
I'd love to see it. And look, he's got 3 top 10s in the PGA Championship. Would there be a more romantic, winner of the PGA Championship than Ricky Fowler?
Jordan?
I guess so, right? Yeah, absolutely. And maybe I'm just bigging it up a little bit. I mean, there's other deserving players. Another one I'm going to talk about. I mean, people don't like him, so it won't be as romantic. But Patrick Cantlay is a very big major player.
Did you see Patrick Cantlay? Because one of us bet Patrick Cantlay last year.
So you were ready for it?
For this venue, because I remember what Patrick Cantlay has done at East Lake. I'm like, Patrick Cantlay, when are you going to win a major? Your buddy's already won 1.
Yeah.
Actually, 2 majors.
Yeah.
Join the club, pal.
Yeah. And if you talk about the person that's, played the last 2 Donald Ross major championships the best, Patrick Cantlay tied 9th at Oak Hill in 2023 in this event, and then 3rd, obviously behind Bryson DeChambeau at the US Open at Pinehurst as well. So, lot to like about Patrick Cantlay. But, again, not the opposite of the romantic stories we've just been talking about. People don't like Patrick Cantlay for various reasons. But I do think there's a bit of value on him at kind of like 45 to 1 and bigger, Dylan, especially when he's playing well again today, coming under through 9. He was the one I referenced earlier of I had my eye on. I had him, JJ Spawn I was looking at. I think he's really come back to form. And do I think that JJ Spawn ends as a 2-time major champion in his career? Probably not, but that's like the only reason not to be considering this week. Raitan played okay for a good period of time at the Masters. It'll be interesting to see how he kind of puts up on Sunday as well. So there's a lot going on in this final round. It's an amazing final round. There's 4 players tied at 12 under behind Sungjae Im. Ricky Fowler, Tommy Fleetwood, Alice Fitzpatrick, Christopher Raitan. That they're hunting down Sungjae, and he's holding strong at the moment. So,
yeah. And by the way, talk about Patrick Cantlay, not just East Lake, but shorter course now, and hopefully Patrick Cantlay doesn't have. Talk about the worst tee shots we've ever seen. How about that tee shot the Travelers a couple of years ago when it went like 20 yards into the water?
Awful. By the way, as well, just thinking about long shots for this tournament. If I told you that I had a former PGA champion in mind and a course winner and someone that looks like he's just coming back to a little bit of his old self, who would I be talking about?
And he's a 4-time Ryder Cup captain. Keegan Bradley.
I just think he's just carded a couple of eagles on the final day here at Quail Hollow. Looks like he's now he's just had his best round at Augusta ever. He played okay at the Heritage, where he, historically hadn't played very well before. Look, probably not quite in major winning form. I think that's obviously quite obvious to people, but these PGA Championships, they go to the same sort of players. They like to repeat form. He's obviously played well in a couple of them. It's not just the one that he won. He finished third as a defending champion in 2012. He finished 8th last year when he's obviously on his good run of form. Seems to be finally shedding that Ryder Cup responsibility, Dylan, and loss. And it feels like over 100-1 Keegan Bradley might be of interest. Definitely a good DK option.
I don't think you could do worse. I mean, I don't really want to play Alex Fitzpatrick at 150. I think he's played too much golf, and eventually that wear and tear is going to hurt him. Plus, the field this week is going to be a little different with all the live golfers there. I don't know. Every time I think Sepp Straka, he disappoints me. Yeah. Plus, I think he's better on Bermuda, but we'll see. Okay, you can ask the question.
Dylan, I think we're probably in lockstep here, but who is your one and done for the 2026 PGA Championship?
Well, Tom, there have been 10 straight American Wanamaker winners. This year's going to be 11 because Cam Young is going to go from Players Champ to Doral winner to major winner when he wins the Wanamaker out of Wanamaker.
Yeah. It's and that's I agree. By the way, like he would be my one and done. The only reason I think that people are gonna be against that is if he goes and wins again today, which he could still do. He's only a couple of shots behind, and people just really don't think that he can go and win that many events in that short space of time. But obviously, he gets his first career win at a Donald Ross course at the Wyndham Championship as well. Lots of good vibes for Cam Young. I guess the other thing, third on his PGA Championship debut, not been great since. Miscut 63rd, 47th in the tournament, but we can forgive that. It does feel like the Southern Hills PGA Championship was a bit of a making of people in the PGA. A lot of people that hadn't had a good form in one, suddenly sort of turned up in that one. Maybe that's something to keep in mind. But I just think he's probably the best player in the world right now. Or Scheffler's, 3 seconds, right? So maybe Scheffler is still the best. But Cam Young's got to be close.
Yeah, and also not just how Cam Young's playing, but where he's winning. He won Players and he won a Doral route, and I think that's got to account for something. Winning the best non-major course and winning Doral. Now, I think Doral is a match made in heaven for Cam.
Yeah, and that's the other thing to consider is did he want the more recent PGA Championship golf courses that we've had? I mean, the results recently say no. He hasn't been that good in it since that in the Southern Hills. So maybe no is the answer, and we're just happy.
But I'm not sure Cam Young's been this good of a golfer than what he's been the last 10 months.
Yeah, we're just talking about a completely different prospect now, right? And I think that's the thing to consider. Now, it's an interesting one. If you could have Cam Young to win and Scheffler and Rory to both finish inside the top 10 at 66-1, would you take it? Because that's a boost you can get on Bet365 over here.
I like the way you're thinking. The problem is with Scotty Scheffler, he's putting himself way too far behind the 8 ball first 2 rounds.
He is, but he's like the master of coming back, right? I think it's.
I mean, and you know what? For Scotty Scheffler, his season might not be win Augusta or win the Wanamaker. His season might be win the next major.
Yeah. That and that's kind of what he's got to think about, right? He's just realigning his kind of goals, maybe. He might just be getting ready for those kind of, US Opens and Open Championships. Who knows? But yeah, who I guess we're obviously very keen on Cam Young. We both think he's going to be the most likely winner. Who's your favorite bet outside of that? Is it Fitz?
Yes. Fitz was the other one and done I was considering.
Is there any because obviously we talked about King Bradley and people like that. That's kind of relatively easy to mention because of his PGA Championship history. Is there any wild off the cuff type players that you think are worth mentioning?
Adam Scott.
Yeah, I mean, isn't he leading the tour in strokes gained approach right now?
The problem is, can Adam Scott putt worth of crap?
He can't do a lot. He just doesn't seem to be doing anything with that approach play, right? The results are really disappointing for someone that's kind of again probably a bit unfair. Like he's had those good earlier season finishes, but he's not getting the returns, and it's been a while, right, since he kind of made that impact that you really hope. I mean, when was the last time I can think about where he was kind of a factor in the major championships? I genuinely can't remember it. He finished 10th at the Open Championship in 2024, but I don't remember him being involved.
Let me see. Yeah. Scott was tied for 20th at the Masters, and then missed the cut at Augusta in 25. First time in 14 years. So I don't know.
It just feels like it's a little bit beyond him. But one person I'm just really, and I bet on him this week at the Truist. And I've just got half an eye on him for next week as well. Is Kurt Kitayama. He's coming over par through 9 holes. So not painting himself in glory on this final day, and maybe that's going to be the difference between me going from and not. But he is a player that's impressed in really big events. If you look at his kind of official world golf rankings, I know he said you don't use that, but 3 years ago he finished 4th in this tournament.
On a similar course layout
at Oak Hill, right? So you just think about a big time player. I do think about Kurt Kitayama, and I know that seems strange, but he's already got the 4th in the PGA. He's been okay at the Masters. Nothing special.
Maybe Kitayama's a better top 5, top 10 player.
Yeah, probably is hard to see him winning, right? But just someone of interest.
Yeah. All right, Tom. Thanks for hopping on. Hopefully, I don't put the kiss of death on Cam Young next week, because my last few one and dones have been garbage.
We did it with Bryson, right, and he let us down. So I feel Cam Young is foolproof. He's not going to be affected by us, Dylan. He's going to do it, and he's going to just beat Matt Fitzpatrick in a playoff. Good news,
Tom. PGA has been my venue. I've been pretty decent here the last few years.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got full faith in you, full faith in Cam Young. Let's get it this week.